If Joe Flacco were to come to the 49ers, would that be a good signing? Jack, why don't you hit this one first?
Yeah, no, I definitely think that bringing Flacco in would be a really good sign. I know people are yesterday when that first broke, a lot of folks, myself included, were kind of joking around about that. But then you start looking at what Flacco did in last year with the Jets. And if you look at his game against Arizona and his game against New England, he arguably played just as good, if not better, than Jimmy Garoppolo played in those two games. And that's with a bad Jets team. He definitely, of the two Jets quarterbacks, we keep hearing all this talk about trading for Sam Darnold. If I've got to make a decision between trading for Sam Darnold or signing Joe Flacco, I'm doing Flacco every day of the week because he's just better. And you can see that on film when you watch him play. For a guy his size, he still moves really well. I think he probably right now moves better than any of the quarterbacks on the 49ers roster from last year. So definitely an upgrade there. He also has experience in Shanahan's system. He played for Gary Kubiak, ran the offense in Baltimore. I think it was 2014. Happened to be his second best season of his career, and he played with Scangarello in Denver in 2019. So he's got history in the system, and I think he'd be a terrific backup quarterback, even if he has to play and start.
My concern with bringing Flacco in would be if he does get thrust into the lineup, whether by ineffective play ahead of him or injury, he doesn't really fit what the offense currently is, at least the personnel, in my opinion. His great games with the Jets last year or not great, but good games with the Jets last year. He had Brashad Perriman and Denzel Mims, who are both burners, and the 49ers don't really have that on the roster. If they address a field stretcher, if that's Travis Benjamin or whatever, then that does change it a little for me. But I think unless you're confident in the quarterback going on a heater like Nick Foles did to win that Super Bowl with your backup quarterback, I'd rather just get a backup that kind of fits what your starter is more familiar with the offense. And like Jack said, Flacco's familiar with the offense, so that is a plus. But I think he's just too much of an opposite of what Garoppolo is.
This is another one of those signings that sounds very underwhelming at first. And I believe it was Matt Mayoko that tweeted it out yesterday that if the 49ers were to bring in Flacco, it would be the strongest endorsement by John Lynch yet that the team's committed to Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't necessarily see it that way, where if they do bring in Flacco, that they're hand-tied with Garoppolo over the course of the 2021 season. But I do like Flacco for the same reason I like Alex Mack. He's inserted in the starting lineup, brings that veteran presence. He's a guy who's been around the block, and that's Joe Flacco. He has a lot of big game experience, and I feel like if the 49ers had a more mature backup quarterback last season, they might have squeaked into that 7th seed in the NFC. So I think bringing in a veteran backup quarterback is a good thing. It's not a big flashy free agent signing or a big move at the quarterback position, but it doesn't necessarily tie them into committing to Garoppolo, which is a positive. And again, you have some stability there at the QB2 position, which is definitely a spot that the team needs to upgrade at.
Yeah, Jack made a lot of great points. I mean, he would be a better backup than Sam Darnold. And if you're looking for backups, he's probably the best option right now. He is a career winner. He's like 90 wins in his career. He's played in a Super Bowl. He's won a Super Bowl. His resume is a lot like Garoppolo's in a way. But then I come back to what Nick said, Mayoko tweeted, and that's my problem with this, is that I kind of look at it the way Mayoko does. If they sign Joe Flacco, it is really an endorsement of Jimmy Garoppolo for another year, and I have a problem with that. They should be moving on from Jimmy Garoppolo. They should be drafting a guy. They should not be sticking by Jimmy Garoppolo. They should be moving him out. It should either be Jimmy is the bridge quarterback or someone else is the bridge quarterback. And Joe Flacco, to me, is a backup at this point in his career. He has a good deep ball. He always has. I don't think he's that he doesn't have that much of a quick release. He's not that accurate on the short and intermediate stuff. I don't think he's the greatest fit for what the Niners are now. He'd be a better fit for what the Falcons were doing 4 or 5 years ago. I'd prefer Alex Smith. I think Alex Smith is actually a better bridge quarterback, a better quarterback than Joe Flacco. But for some reason, I don't think that's going to happen. And maybe Alex Smith doesn't want to come back to the Niners. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe he doesn't want to come back. I mean, he kind of said that he had a problem with like the culture. And that's not Kyle. That's Parag and Jed. So they can't get Alex. I don't have a problem with Joe Flacco. I just, if it's what Mayoko said, then I do have a problem with it. They should be drafting a quarterback. If they just sign 36-year-old Joe Flacco and we'll wait a year. We might get Aaron Rodgers next year. We might get Deshaun Watson next year, or Kirk Cousins 2 years from now. Like, well, come on. It's the only problem.
Yeah, I don't think, real quick, just to kind of jump in, I don't think that signing Flacco – I don't think signing Flacco and keeping Garoppolo for this year really would prohibit them from getting a guy, say, like Kellen Mond. I think Kellen Mond is a guy that they can get in the second round, or, I think it opens up a lot of the things that they could do, So
that's fine by me.
And then in terms of the 49ers personnel, the quarterback that can throw the ball downfield, I think is going to make Brandon Ayuk better.
True. That's a good point. I think that's a good point. It's not really Debo's game, but it is definitely Brandon Ayuk's game. We just haven't seen it. And George Kittle as well. So that's two guys. Okay. Good point, Jack.